Hello my friends, new video today. This time we're going to update my Illuvium warning that I gave out pretty much 1 month ago. We can just hop into the video. No, actually it has been a bit more, 1.5 months more or less. So basically back then the token price was sitting at around $112. And I told you guys that you should be careful when doing Illuvium purchases, as there's a huge unlock schedule beforehand, before the Illuvium release, which is likely to exert a huge amount of selling pressure, which would lead to a lower token price. Well, in the end, this is exactly what happened. Nevertheless, a huge selling price doesn't always have to mean that there's a low token price. In the end, I still love the project, and prior to this video, I have never even been invested into Illuvium. This time we're going to update all these statements and what I currently think on the project. Well, first of all, if you haven't already, make sure to watch this video first. I'll try to put this into the description. I hope I don't forget, so make sure to open the description right now and watch this video first in case you haven't already. Next is going to be the current Illuvium situation and how it's going to be in the future. Well, first of all, we always have to see both sides, right? Like there's a seller side to Illuvium and their token and a buyer side. Last time we already have looked into the ICO, the tokens that were for sale in the public sale, in the private sale, and the seed round. And all these are basically still heavily in profit as they've purchased for $1 or even $3. And of course, naturally, with most of the other crypto projects plummeting, it's likely that they still sell Illuvium, not because Illuvium isn't a great project, but because when they have bought at $1, it's still at times 57, even at current prices, and at back then at like $112, it was like 112x from their buying point, and of course, it's very likely that they needed to cover the losses from several other crypto projects that haven't really been doing as well as Illuvium did in the past. Okay, so now let's get to the current situation. Currently, the token price has plummeted even further. We are currently at $57, and it's not really looking as if we are going back up anytime soon. If you look at the 3 months chart, you can pretty much see that we've been going down and down and down in a more or less straight line. And basically, we could even see that like whenever we hit through an important mark, when it comes to the dollar price, it was pretty much bought right up right away because people thought of the lower token price more as an opportunity rather than a project that's about to die out or that needs to be sold right away and get away from. So we could see that whenever we hit like the 100 token, $100 per token price, it was bought off quite quickly. We had our hypes, lows, etc., etc. However, recently we can see that pretty much ever since September, there's pretty much a downfall in the token price that haven't really been, wasn't really able to go back up to its former height again, since it seems like the buying pressure has been lowered quite a bit. Well, first of all, when it comes to projects in general, and it's pretty much the same for stocks, people usually look at the trend and they look at how are things doing right now and recently doing, etc., etc. So in the past, people pretty much just bought Illuvium whenever they had cash. They just hopped in, bought token, it rose, they bought more, it rose again, bought more, rose again, bought more, it rose again. So they were pretty much right to think that buying at the earliest point is going to be the best. For example, with their revenue distribution, with their token price development that has gone up quite a bit, at least in the past year. And of course, when you're seeing a token price of $2,000, you're in a much different emotional state than when you've been staying at like 500 and not having been higher ever again, right? So having the $2,000 mark hit and then going back down basically lets you see the token at a huge discount, and it makes you think that the price of $500 actually a very nice discount on its token price, and it's basically almost free for you to get, because you may think, oh, okay, it's going to go back right up again, which of course wasn't the case, as token have been started to unlock, and of course with the bear market situation in itself, and the token not and the project itself not really being able to release any open betas yet, it's just natural that the token price has plummeted. And people tried to adjust, and of course they learned their lesson, right? So what this means is that recently the buy pressure has been lowered a little bit, because people decided to, instead of dump all their income basically, which they get, into the token right away, they decided to try a different approach, which basically means buying in tranches, saying, okay, right now it's, let's say, $60, I'll buy 20 Illuvium token now, and then when it goes to $50, I buy another 20, and then it goes further down, I maybe buy 40 or 50, but they're a little bit more strict than they were before, and that's of course a lesson which they have learned from a psychological aspect, and that's also why the token price hasn't been able to recover as quickly as it did before. Okay, that's just for the introduction basically. This is just the other side of the coin. The first side of the coin, as has been discussed here, which is basically the unlocking of token from the vesting schedule. And of course, those are exerting a huge selling pressure. So naturally, the token price can't recover as quickly. So what do I personally do? Ever since that video, I've been looking closely at the token price, and back then it was still a little bit expensive. I mean, I think we had a fully diluted market cap of like $1 billion, which isn't necessarily super high for a crypto project of this degree. However, we should always keep in mind that so far nothing has released, and we can't really determine yet how high the success of the project is going to be, right? So, of course, I may trigger some people right now with these statements. However, that's simply a fact that we shouldn't neglect. Naturally, the token and the project, the team, have proven how good they are at putting stuff out on the Discord with their leaks, with their videos, interviews. They did everything to show us what they got, and of course, all these things were taken into consideration when investing into the token. From your perspective as an investor, but also from my personal perspective as an outsider, first of all, who's just observing the token, its price, and of course, the project itself. So, next thing. Another thing that has changed ever since my last Illuvium video. Back then I was just an observer. Now I'm actually an investor of the project. In case you have missed it, I've tried to make everything transparent about it, so you can just have a look in here. It's shown in the I bought video, buying my first ILV token. So make sure to watch this video in case you're interested to see how much I personally bought in the token in my first tranche. I'm going to follow a certain strategy, which I've explained in the Illuvium Token Smart Investment Strategy video, and that's what I'll be doing for the next couple months and weeks, and maybe even years, depending on how Illuvium is going to evolve. So that's my personal approach on the said project, and personally, there's not really much that is going to change from that perspective, right? So because The project itself is solid, it has nice fundamentals, they can actually provide certain guidance when it comes to the future of its crypto project. They have pretty decent tokenomics, the revenues distribution is a genius system, and it's not just great because it exists, but also because it shows how transparent the developers are when making financial decisions based on the crypto project. That's what personally fascinates me a lot, because most other crypto projects, despite transparency being very much appreciated and valued in the crypto community, most other crypto projects can't really keep up with that. I personally, I've been invested in many different crypto projects. However, most of these, even though they make good financial decisions, they aren't exactly as transparent about Illuvium when it comes to making these decisions. Illuvium sets up a plan way beforehand, and once that plan is set, they will just keep it in, and they may change it later on with the community or alongside the community through the governance system. However, they won't just change their ways, and that's like a double-edged knife. However, personally, I think it has its good parts, right? And the biggest good point about it is that everything is set up from the start, and we already know what to expect. So when I decided to have a deeper look into the project, of course, I was hoping for lower token price, right? Like, of course, back then when I saw the token price at $2,000, of course, I thought, oh my goodness, why didn't I invest earlier, right? Naturally, that's just a natural psychological thing that's going to happen. Nevertheless, I didn't invest and waited for a time where it would be worth my money and, of course, my investment. So, the thing you should do right now, no matter if you're already an investor or just an observer, is to just set up your own strategy. You could use one of my videos to get a better look into it. However, you could also set up your own strategy. I wouldn't recommend you to go all in on X amount of token price that you've set up in your mind, because you should always understand that no particular token price will ever be cheap or expensive, right? A $2,000 per token valuation can be cheap, and at the same time, a $10 per token valuation can be expensive. If you don't quite know what that means, you may have to look up a couple more videos when it comes to investing and the valuation of certain projects. However, if you do already know your stuff when it comes to this, you should also take into consideration that there's always a reason for tokens to move up and down. And in this case, the major reason for the token to move in this current way, to move downward with this harsh of a movement, is basically just the unlocking of the tokens from the vesting schedule. And it's not exactly people losing faith in the project, which usually is the case, right? Like, usually when you see a project going downhill, it's either there's a huge amount of token getting into the market, for example, by playing the game, by far too high yields, or by token distribution through other sorts of methods. However, in reality, when people lose trust in the project, that's usually one of the biggest reasons for a token price or for a solid project to go downhill, because when people actually lose faith in a project, and maybe the project itself does some bad decisions when it comes to their own future, basically, then people leave the market, and that's pretty much the worst thing that could happen for a crypto project. And in this case, this doesn't happen. The main reason for this project to go down is because of the harsh vesting release. And the reason why this vesting release was chosen to be this way, or the way it is right now, is because initially the Illuvium game release, or the open beta, was supposed to be hitting during the first release of the vesting schedule. It was actually quite the smart play. However, that's also why I mentioned the double-edged sword. They set everything up from the start, and most of these things, like 90-95%, are very smart things, and this actually belongs to the smart part. However, they didn't readjust the schedule, and they should have actually spoken to the VCs and other investors, because um, it would have been better for the team itself to preserve the token price. However, from my perspective, for me personally, this is the best thing that could have happened. I mean, just imagine you're an investor, right? And there are two scenarios. Either you've already been invested into the token, like maybe you bought in here, and every month you bought like your $300, $400, $500 worth of token, and you bought in here, 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 and every time you bought, and the token price remained the same. Okay, cool. And then the game is released, and it still remains the same, even though there are lots of tokens released. Then, of course, you may have not ever had a loss in your portfolio and would have always looked good, because the price was always at the $500, $600, $700, or even $2,000 mark. However, on the other side, and that shouldn't actually be neglected, if it's like it is right now, and you see a low token price for a very short time, and you keep buying, and you get a lot more token for the same amount of investment, then it's actually a lot better for you when the token manages to recover to the former level of token price, right? So in their ideal statement, or in their ideal world, the token may have never gone under the $500 mark, because the game release would have already happened at this time, maybe, right? So it would have stayed the same or even soared higher, right? But like in reality, that hasn't happened, because the game release was postponed, or at least, I mean, there's no official date, of course, but like it's obvious that it's not really on schedule. So naturally, the unlocking of tokens has still happened, and that's what has been lowering the token price. For us as people who are fond of the token, who want to earn a lot with the revenue distribution, stuff like that, that's actually a good thing, right? It may not look as good in your portfolio, because you see, oh no, I'm down 10, 20, 50, 60, 90%, but in reality, it's a much better situation for you to be in, given the token project itself hasn't changed, right? The only thing that's missing right now is demand for the token, since there's an oversupply of token due to the unlocking of schedule, and there are not the 500,000 players yet in the market, right? So that's the only issue, quote unquote. However, if the token project has remained the same, and it's just being postponed, and we can expect the same hype as it used to be, then actually nothing has changed. The token price is just going to go the same way as it used to be, and we may see the same price that we would have seen if the token or the project would have been released on schedule. It just takes a little bit more time, and in the meantime, you can get a lot more token for the same amount of money, and that's how you should be thinking in case you're actually fond of the project and would like to invest, right? So that should be more of your mindset. So personally, I would not recommend you to dump all your money in at some point, because in this case, that's the only way you can actually lose. Because if you had invested all your money in like this region and the $1,000 region, then pretty much right now you're down bad. And even in the future, if we hit back at the $1,200 mark, you basically just covered your losses. Maybe you've gained some money with the revenue distribution, but you just made a little bit of money. The risk was far higher than what you could have earned. In reality, if you were to DCA into it, or you have your tranches plan, or you just buy on a regular basis in general, then you can't really lose at all, right? Like, as long as the project is good and fulfills their plans, and the token price rises long-term wise, then that's the best thing you can do. Or at least the smartest thing from a volatility aspect and a volatility to risk ratio, right? Like, of course, you could also dump everything in here, hoping that we'll never see any lower lows. and then you'll make a fortune. But the trick is that people may have thought that at this very moment, $1,000 was the lowest we'll ever see again. That's something people thought at this moment. Not maybe not you, but there were many people thinking, okay, we are now at $1,000. We'll never go as little as we are here right now ever again. Like, do you ever actually think that people could imagine at this almost $2,000 price range that we would see a $50 or $60 price target in the near future? I doubt so. Maybe there were a couple people thinking, okay, we can always go as low as this, but naturally, the people who bought here would have never thought of that, because if they did, they would have just waited it out or shorted the crypto. That's just a natural thing to do. So, what you should do is make up your own mind on whether you like the project or not. If you think it has good long-term prospects, you can set up your own savings plan on ILV, buy into it every now and then, and keep your token staked or vested or whatever, or just in your wallet. Do whatever you like, actually, and then you will see long-term wise that's a pretty decent strategy. So that's my own 2 cents on Illuvium and my update on the Illuvium warning. Personally, I'm also invested right now. I got my very first tranche in, not too much, maybe $300 worth of it, so very, very little. However, I have lots of capital for the months to come, and that's what I deem a smart play right now. So, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, this is no financial advice. Shouldn't be required to say this every video. I do it anyway. Just check the description for a disclaimer. And as always, let's discuss in the comments on what you guys think on the ILV token and whether it's going to be recovering or just continue to dwindle. That's it for the video, guys. Goodbye.